Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the second episode of People Talks. And I'm your host, Carlos Ponce, and broadcasting live from beautiful Tucson, Arizona, which is sunny. And right now, we're going to be having a very, very interesting conversation with Jay Z. And she's going to introduce herself in a minute. And we're going to be talking about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart because it's something that I've been kind of delving into, exploring the balance between what it means to be human and AI and technology. The topic is the heart in the machine, AI with a human touch. How humans' intuition and creativity are shaping the future of AI. Jay Z, welcome to People Talks. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks so much, Carlos, for having me on your show. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm excited as well, JC, to be honest, because, as we were talking before we went on the air, uh, I was telling you, JC, that I'm sort of a nostalgic when it comes to all things marketing and traditional marketing. And of course, needless to say, I cannot avoid, right, riding the AI and technology bandwagon at some point. So we're going to focus on that. But before we get into that part, JC, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Jay Z? Your background, your story, and then we can go from there. Thank you.
Call me Jay-Z like the rapper.
Yeah, there you go. Call me Jay Z. Okay.
I worked on a couple of AI and machine learning products with data scientists. And when we were working in enterprise and fintech, we would collaborate to write raps, and then they would make me present them at conferences to recruit. So that's how I became Call Me Jay-Z. And it was really fun at that time to write raps with my data scientists. Now you can do it with AI, like instantly. But we'd write the syllables together, write the words and the meaning together, tie it back to our company's mission, try to recruit like stellar talent and win the talent war. So that's how I became a rapper. I'm a very bad rapper, though.
Oh, okay.
That's the human side.
Oh, you okay? Gotcha. Yeah, when you said a rapper, for some reason I misunderstood, and I didn't know you were actually a rapper. Wow.
A bad one, but that's where I'm not vocoded. This is really me. It's not my avatar. Like the human faults are what makes the heart of everything shine.
Interesting. How interesting, JC. Thanks for sharing. I'm not going to ask you to do some freestyling now,
No.
but maybe you will down the road. All right. So, JC, tell us a little bit about your company. So I understand that your company is called Call Me AI. So tell us about the company. What problem you solve, or what is your value prop, or the story behind it, your journey, anything you want to say about your company.
Sure. So I'm a AI video coder and marketer. In terms of code, I sit somewhere in between automation like Zapier, but not as complicated as a development team. So I'll make you your first prototype to validate that people want to pay you for it or even use it. And then I also train people how to evaluate and use AI, like make their own chatbots. And I also make videos. So I think the thread that runs through is my focus on AI video, whether it's deepfake avatars or stock video B-roll editing or editing podcasts.
Wow. Well, you certainly struck a chord there because I might need to talk to you after the show about that. Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, Jay-Z, let's dive into the topic, right? So the topic, as we agreed on, is the heart and the machine, AI with a human touch, or how human intuition and creativity are shaping the future of AI. Okay, so the first question that I have for you, um, in a world that is increasingly driven by AI and automation, right? So what do you see as the role of humans in keeping marketing strategies or business strategies personal and relatable?
Yeah, I think it's about a sales-led approach. So a lot of the founders that come to me, they think that they'll come up with a great idea, make some videos, and people will just come to them like, I want to pay you. I want to pay you like
Hmm.
$100 a month for 12 months, right? And that rarely happens because you're just speaking to everyone as if they're anyone, not personalized, not human, just speaking to the crowd.
Hmm.
And to humanize things, it's really helpful if you've identified your ICP, you're speaking to only them and not the person next to them. And that's
Hmm.
when founders really get traction and product market fit, whether they're bootstrapping or going to raise a round of venture capital.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. So, and we were talking about, excuse me, we're talking about the role of humans, right, and in these strategies, and you, of course, your expertise is in AI or artificial intelligence. So I would like to ask you is, um, can you share, based on your experience, a few examples, let's say, of marketing strategies, that effectively combine both AI tools and personal interaction? Just, can you, for those of us who are new into the AI space or are stepping into it or want to learn more, so can you give us a few examples of how this all works out?
In the last couple of weeks, I've had 4 founders come to me with the same idea.
Uh-huh.
They're all creating a list of events, whether it be for parents or singles, and they expect that their customers will look through that list of events, filter for what they want, and be astounded by the value. That's a
Hmm.
very marketing approach. Here are all the events, like it might be curated for a city, but it's not curated for your age or whether you want it to be indoor or outdoor, free or paid. And so what I've
Hmm.
told all these founders, and it's really, serendipitous that they all reached out to me at the same time and they all
Hmm.
have the same idea and they're all lovely. So what I've told them all is that whether or not it's them or AI, it's really helpful if you have a target audience. Like
Hmm.
I think one of them was single parents who are looking for play dates for their kids that are free and they have
Hmm.
to be outdoors, right? So if you have this niche and then you're able to message people in your communities, hey, I know that you're looking for this free weekend outdoor play date. I found some in your area that you visited in the past. Take a look. So that kind of customization to that user is not marketing anymore, right? That's sales, but in a
Hmm.
very human way where there's a higher, maybe higher than 50% chance that this customer, this prospect will find value.
Hmm.
And so all the founders are shocked. They're like, oh, I have to do all this work. And I'm like, well, you don't. Like, your AI should do all the work to customize the event. And then you, as a human, should decide, oh, this event would be of value to them.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, oh, they're going to be on vacation. So I'm not going to message them this week. Or I know that they don't like that neighborhood because I can't park there, right? That's
Hmm.
where you as a human would say, oh, I'm not going to message them this event. But then as a human, you can also build filters that say in the future, I have to add parking as a data point structured into these event listings. I have to add vacation, like schedules as a data point. So that's where these
Hmm.
founders are kind of shocked at how much work they have to do, but then relieved that the AI can do it for them.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm assuming that eventually the founders that you're referring to are, well, they're going to be once they go through this phase, they're going to be relying on the solutions that you are providing, right, on your AI solutions, right? So if I were the founder, like I'm not, but if I were a founder, I would probably say, well, I feel at ease. I'm going to rely on this technology. I've done my work. Now I'm going to just trust it, right? So, but again, I could not help but think: do you think there could be potentially? Now remember, I am asking from the layman's perspective. Do you think there is a risk of over reliance on technology and or AI in marketing or in business? And if so, what are the potential drawbacks that we need to prevent? I hope I asked a clear question.
Well, I think I want to back up and say that as someone who's built models and developed code around AI integrations, it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of work. It's not like the AI just gets up and says, "Hey, like do it this way. It's that easy. One button."
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears among the humans developing the AI. So it's not like we're not at the point where we should be scared that the AI is taking over. But to answer your question, there are a lot of lazy marketers and salespeople who will spam everyone, and they'll be labeled the selfish one, right? Because they're just
Mm-hmm.
talking about themselves. They're not talking about the pain points of the customer or the value that they add. So I don't I think that's hard to spot. Like among all of our communities, there's always the loudmouth or the person who's just gonna say whatever they want, like
Mm-hmm.
however they want it, regardless of how no one wants to hear it or how it makes someone else feel. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it just kind of duplicates. AI would just duplicate human behavior, and it's up to
Mm-hmm.
all of us to do the give and take, not be so selfish with our pitches, not be so
Mm-hmm.
uh, self-centered in our daily lives.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I think it's about what I'm hearing is I think it's more about enhancing the outcomes, right? So let me ask you something. How can we or businesses and companies ensure that their use of AI enhances rather than replaces genuine customer connections or client interactions or just people interactions? How can we make sure of that? How can we make sure that AI enhances the part that these
Mhm.
interactions?
Well, usually people don't have a person ideal customer profile that they're targeting. They just
Hmm.
want everyone to buy their candy bar or their events app. So it's really about making that decision of who to target. And AI
Hmm.
can help you draft that, but in the end, it's a lot of user research, innovation that the human needs to do to differentiate themselves against all the other crap software that's already on the market and make something valuable. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. But I mean, I might need to add something to it, but it certainly does. So, but let me go back to the the topic itself. So, AI with a human touch. Again, for a lot of newcomers into the AI space out there, sometimes when we hear the word AI, all we can immediately think of is, for example, ChatGPT or Midjourney, or these tools that are really useful, that are really great, right? So they make our lives easier. But at the same time, when we focus on the human touch part, for example, what I have experienced is I have people reach out to me on, let's say, on LinkedIn or whatever, or maybe I see a piece of promotional website or something, and it's very clear that not a lot of care was put into that, in creating those messages, into creating the wording, because you can tell that it was created by ChatGPT.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I see that word right there, and I've seen it like a million times. So we know, we just feel it's AI generated, right? So people are not really putting a lot of care into, I don't know how to say it, inputting the prompts right, or creating their agents in, with enough care to prevent this from happening. But is it possible to prevent this from happening, like, entirely? Like, so you can avoid these situations in which it doesn't feel right, cold messaging, repetitive wording. Um, how can we prevent that from happening when we use technology as ChatGPT, for example?
Poetry. So some of the best content writers write 3 words as a title and then one sentence is the body.
Hmm.
AI can't do that off the cuff, right? It's trying to make a lengthy SEO optimized
Hmm.
1,000-character, 1,000-word article. And so you can tell when a human has worked on the copy. I've worked with some of the most amazing elevator pitchers and uh, can openers in terms of subject lines, and
Hmm.
they're beautiful haikus, 3 words and 50% open rates.
Hmm.
AI
Wow.
can't do that yet. I mean, it can, but you would have to prompt it.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So, okay. Now let's move on to what you're actually doing right now in your company. You are a video coder and marketer. So, that's when it starts getting interesting, like more interesting than it is, but because I'm in the marketing space. But so you are a AI video coder. So I would like to ask you, for those of you who do not know exactly, what does a video coder do? What is the role of a video coder in marketing?
Yeah, so a lot of videos made by amazing artists, and they
Hmm.
come up with the strategy, they come up with the images. And so after the human comes up with this groundbreaking video, it can be personalized to the people who are watching it.
Hmm.
So it can have not just someone's name and title, but their activity in past months, if they've asked a question or posted a comment before, respond to some of their engagement. And
Hmm.
so even though the video was created by a human, the AI would then make that relevant to each of your, let's say, 100 listeners. So I
Hmm.
make automated videos that react to triggers like, person's past LinkedIn behavior,
Hmm.
and customizes a video, whether it's for sales or marketing. It could be learning and development, customizes the video for
Hmm.
them.
Okay, gotcha. So, let me now, let's move on towards the marketer side. Okay, again, there are marketers out there who are barely getting their feet wet into this technology. So I'd like to ask you, Jay-Z, what skills should marketers be developing today to remain relevant as AI becomes more embedded in the industry?
Well, I think marketers have a knack for differentiation. That's not an AI skill, but it'll be
Hmm.
increasingly important in AI how your message, your product is different, better, more valuable.
Hmm.
And so sick of like spam and copycats and all the different, like, hundreds of versions of the same thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's on the human side. And then on the AI side, just using AI as a draft,
Uh-huh.
using Copilot for free, in having more ideas and backing them up with data from AI, but not
Hmm.
making AI your decision maker. Just being able to get all the data that, let's say you're a fashion designer and you want to collect all the trends from clubs, like what women are really wearing when they go out, and you
Hmm.
want to source them from Instagram. it's much easier to do that now than to go to all the clubs and take the photos yourself,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
you use that as like a mood board. But I wouldn't
Yeah.
say like you're just going to design the same thing that the women are already wearing, because they already bought it and they don't
Right.
need to buy another one. So you're going to design something much cooler, much
Yeah.
better, more comfortable, maybe more expensive because it's much cooler and more comfortable.
Of course, of course, of course. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned something. You mentioned the word data, right? I think that's very important. So, how do we use technology and data-driven insights to create more personalized or human-centered marketing strategies, for example?
It's back to the ideal customer profile. Who
Hmm.
is the target of your podcast? What information do they want that no one else is giving them?
Hmm.
But that's a very human journey, right? Like
Yeah.
all these founders of these event blogs, they don't want to commit
Hmm.
to one ICP, like the single dad, right? Because there are
Hmm.
very few resources for dads who want a free outdoor event, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, that's a small market. But I'm like, it's
Hmm.
unserved, right? They'll sign up and they'll pay you. And they're like, oh, but I want everyone to pay me. Well,
Yeah.
no, not everyone's going to pay you, especially in the beginning. And this data is already free. So how do you curate the data for a target that usually doesn't consume this data but will pay you for
Right. That leads me to, I don't know, for some reason I connected what you were saying with you mentioned your ideal customer profile or client profile. So I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you are the expert in AI and technology, but you might find people out there who maybe belong to a different generation or whatever. They have mixed feelings about implementing AI and technology. So, has there been a time in your experience when AI or technology created an initial barrier between you and your customers? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people who are doing cold outbound using AI, there are messages that are irrelevant, right? And they get
Hmm.
sent. So,
Hmm.
if you're talking to people who've already made videos, there will be a percentage of them who are like, I'm sick of videos. I'm never going to make a video again. But you don't know
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
And so the email writer AI will write that email and the person gets it and they'll be super offended. And, there's always a risk, but
Uh-huh.
your job as the human is to make sure that the reward outweighs the risk. Maybe provide a feedback form, like,
Uh-huh.
in addition to opt out, like, why did you opt out?
Yeah,
And just try to be as human as you can.
of course. Jay-Z, we're coming up on time, so we're approaching the final segment of the conversation. So I still have a few more things that I would like to ask you. So let's move on to the storytelling side. Right now, what we're doing is you're sharing your story. So there's a little bit of storytelling, and I like storytelling personally. So I'd like to ask you specifically, what role do you think that storytelling play in maintaining a human-centered approach to marketing and business in an automated world? How,
Yeah. Can I actually tell you the story of my podcast software?
please,
Okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I
of
think
course.
you can see this.
It's right there.
And, I think of you as a founder because we both have podcasts and we both have our own
Oh,
businesses.
thank
So
you. I'm flattered.
absolutely. And so my story is that I've been doing my podcast for over a year now. I think episode 70 is coming up. And I had a really big guest that I messed up the schedule on. So they, when you are scheduling live streams, the timing is very strange, right? It's like
Hmm.
UTC for LinkedIn and for all the platforms, but then I'm in Eastern time, you're in Mountain time, right? So the timing got totally effed up, and it was really upsetting to both of us because we had RSVPs to this event, and he's
Hmm.
a big speaker. So I spoke on his podcast and it went smoothly. But when he spoke on my podcast, I had to reschedule, which created this canceling of the event, and then the RSVPs don't migrate to the new event. So I decided, and I have to tell him this, Henning, you are the reason I created this tool is that if you podcast every week, it's important to start automating some of these workflows. And so in my ICP, I'm looking for people like you and your audience who do podcast every week,
Hmm.
whether you're a host or a producer, who want to avoid those embarrassing mistakes. Because how many pieces of software do you stitch together to make a podcast? For me, it was like 5 to 7. So are you in one platform or do you go all over the place?
Hmm.
I'm asking you. Do you use just Restream or do you also use like email and LinkedIn and Canva?
Oh, you're asking me,
Yeah,
right?
I'm asking you.
Okay. No, well, I use a number of tools and platforms. Of course, Restream is like the big one, and then I use Podpage, and then I use Libsyn for digital
Right?
distribution. Then I use Adobe Creative Suite. Yeah, and yeah. So I use a bunch of tools for this.
So it sounds like you're using at least 5, and all podcasters do. And my story is that I just got really embarrassed that I messed up the scheduling of that podcast. And I was spending a lot of time going between all these tools when all I wanted was to talk to people, like spend time with guests. Like I actually love the human side more than anything, more than AI, like anything. So I built this tool so that people could
Hmm.
spend more time with guests.
Hmm.
And it's supposed to help you stop making mistakes, save time, automate jumping between design and marketing software. So I invite you and your guests to give it a try. Right now it's free. And uh, I hope that it helps people not burn out because, as you know, 90% of podcasters burn out at episode 7. It's so much work putting all this together, putting all the software together, pre-production, post-production, and then going live in between. I wish I could just go live and not have to do any of the stuff before and after.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
that's part of my story. Do you have any questions, or what do you think about the way I've told it?
Well, the way I see it is this is, I mean, you mentioned something that really sweetened my ear is I would just like to show up for the podcast and not have to worry about a bunch of things that can be automated or that can be streamlined or packaged in a way that, reduces my workflow and my stress. So yeah, I feel you. And yeah, this is very, very interesting.
This is the part you like, is the live part, the conversation, right? Like everything else, you do it, but I agree with you. This is the part that I love.
Hmm.
So let me ask you then, do you feel like this is replacing people, like producers, or do you feel like this is AI threatening the
No, no,
job?
definitely not. I gotta confess. It would probably relieve a big load of my back, probably, and just give me more time. So I think you got me there because you answered a bunch of questions that I had, right? I told you that I was a newcomer into the AI space. And just by judging by your example alone, I can tell you that I feel like there's a way in which I can add more enjoyment to what I'm doing, which is the actual conversation, right? As opposed to all the minute
Oh,
details of the production, right? So yeah, this I This is
Interesting.
interesting. Uh-huh.
So what's your favorite part of the conversation? Is it like a surprise or someone saying something controversial? Like, what do you enjoy the most about the conversation?
I think when it's just the way what I always say to my guests in other podcasts that I've hosted and produced, um, think of this as the type of conversation that you would have if you were to meet with me over lunch, right? So it needs to have that. It needs to be unscripted. It needs to be like free flowing, natural,
Okay.
not journalistic. Because I don't think that podcasts should be about zinging people for the sake of it, right? It's we're here to
Okay.
just help them get the best of them, out there too. So just keeping it conversational, organic. That's what I really really like about doing this. How about you? What's your favorite part?
Yeah, I agree with you. Keeping it like the whole self, not just what we do for work or pitches, but just like you and I met on Lunch Club. We talked about podcasting, but also like our travels. And so it was just like our whole
Right, right.
lunch.
Yeah, and
Um,
you never know where the journey is going to end, right? You never know where things are going to end up, right? So that's the not having specific expectations about about the outcomes of a conversation. I think is part of the magic, right? And so yeah, so thanks for sharing what you're doing here, Jay Z. So we're coming up on time. We need to wrap up.
okay.
So any final words of wisdom for our current or future audiences through the recordings like that you might want to touch on before we go?
Well, I love your idea of not knowing where it's going to go. I think that open mindedness and surfing the ride of the AI wave, I just love that because there's a lot of room to train the AI to do what you want it to do. So I
Right.
wouldn't be scared. Like AI loves to be told what it's wrong. It's like a New Yorker. Just tell
Right.
it like what you hate about it.
Speak your mind, okay? No filters, right?
No filters. Like everything that you think it did wrong.
Mhm.
Everyone's AI wants to know as much. I mean, you could talk for hours about bugs, and the AI would be like, "Give me more, give me more. I didn't know."
Right,
So
right,
just keep an open mind, and I guess to your point, like be human.
right. Exactly. One more thing before we go. What would you say to founders out there who are on the fence about adopting AI fully, and because you're fearing that they're going to be losing something like part of humanity or whatever that is in their minds? What would you say to these founders?
Losing humanity. Tell me about that. What does
No,
that
no,
mean?
no, no. What I'm saying is, what would you say to those people out there who might be on the fence because they're afraid of let me reward it because they're on the fence of adopting, fully embracing AI because they're afraid of something. Let's forget about the losing humanity part. Just because they fear something, because they're on the fence because I don't know about this. I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna steal my data. Whatever that is. You never.
Oh,
It's like people might be on the fence about implementing or embracing AI fully. What would you say to these people, especially if they are founders?
oh, so many things. I mean, just try it for 5 minutes. If you don't find value, then you're done. Like you never have to do it again. It's not like
Right.
gonna take over. Try it with someone else. Happy to.
Hmm.
I always do a 30-minute free consult. So happy to do it together. Don't do
Right.
it alone. Maybe try it with someone
Uh-huh.
else and
Yeah.
post about how bad it was. It's great.
Right.
Post a
Okay.
bug. Post a suggestion for the AI to be better. Post your human complaints. Go on a podcast about roasting AI. Like it's all part of the game is your opinions and what didn't work.
Right. Perfect. All right. Well, Jay Z, it's been a pleasure. We didn't really intend to roast AI for no reason. I would
I
just
know that's not your style, so I didn't.
not really, not really. I mean, I was honestly and candidly, I was curious about tell me more, right? I might be one of those who have been on the fence about certain things about technology in general, right? Sorry, call me old school or nostalgic, but like I said at the beginning, I know that I'm gonna have to jump on the bandwagon at some point. And so, what better way to do it? Being informed, and that's why we're doing this. All right. So again, thank you so much, Jenny. Please don't go anywhere because we're going to be logging out, folks. But Jenny and Jay Z, stay with me as we go off the air.
Okay.
And folks, see you next time. And don't forget to stay tuned on peoplebound.co, the podcast. Thank you so much. See you next time.